Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Welcome back to Unsubscribe. Season 2.
Season 2, we're back.
We're back. Season 1 ended. Oh, when did Season 1 end? Before August.
Yeah, July. Yeah, because we had August off.
We had
didn't
August
we?
off, so
yeah,
Season
July.
1 ended back in July, but we are back. I mean, do we spill the beans?
I think, yeah.
Okay, we've said good evening. It's probably more like good afternoon.
Yeah.
It's current.
If we don't be clear now, we'll probably slip up.
Yeah, you'll catch us out later through the episode. It's currently Saturday, the 11th of September, some point in the afternoon, but we are pre-recording this episode. We've actually been recording a few episodes today.
Yes.
We've had a number of them scheduled in, and so you'll probably notice those as you watch them, as you watch season 2 of Unsubscribe. But we are so excited to be back.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, we've got some exciting topics and discussions happening in season 2 of Unsubscribe. I know today, well, you may have already, I don't know what order these are going out in, but I know today they've been talking about the environment.
Yeah.
And I know there's one on testimonies coming up.
Yeah.
So there are some great topics. So make sure that you stay tuned to, and leads nicely, stay tuned to our social media where we'll be making some announcements. They're up on the screen, you can see. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, and you can find out all the information on the church website, brightcitychurchuk.com. There we go. And and we still have our Spotify playlist, which was listed there. So every few months we get together, we pick songs that have been speaking to us, we put them into a playlist, and we make them available to you at home. So you can listen to those when you're driving in your car. And it's such a great mix of music.
Big mix. I mean, as we always say, for you guys as well, if there's anything that's been speaking to you, any good worship songs that you know, we're always up for hearing it as well. So make sure you let us know in the comments, and we'll try and get those added to the playlist as well.
Oh yeah, we're always up for exploring new music, and I'll tell you, it's been amazing. I think I had a playlist on from a few months back, and the mix of music, you go from
it's very eclectic.
Yeah, it's very eclectic. You can go from one song to another, and it's like completely different, and that is what we love. It sums up Unsubscribe.
Most definitely does.
In a playlist. It's like the musical version of a recording in a playlist. But yeah, for those who are maybe tuning in for the first time, and you may not recognise us, my name's Sam. I'm on the team here at Unsubscribe, and I'm sure that many of you will know who this is. Over here, this is Joel.
Yeah, also team member of Unsubscribe.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen him do some incredible sessions. Even just the other week, he did one with the church leaders in Ashford, which was an
really
incredible session. It was really good, and something I don't think we've seen online on our broadcast is getting actually some of the church leaders in Ashford together in a room.
Season 2,
Yeah. New things, season 2.
New things.
Yeah. So we thought we'd get season 2 off to a brilliant start there with something.
It could have backfired if they all ended up hating each other and we ended up with church splits. But no, it didn't happen.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to be responsible for that.
May have had to
where did it all go wrong? Well, you see, we're on an episode of Unsubscribe.
Joel's fault.
Yeah. Joel made us all speak to each other. No, but it was a fantastic episode, and if you missed it, I recommend heading over to Facebook or YouTube and catching up on that episode. But we have a new face with us today. We do. We are very privileged and honoured to have Isaiah with us today, and he's a friend of Unsubscribe and a friend of ours. So, why don't you just tell the people at home maybe a little something about yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Well, first of all, thank you guys for inviting me onto this session. I'm really excited for it. These guys have introduced me quite well. Isaiah, or you can call me Izzy. Izzy. But yeah, I live in Ashford. I'm one of the youth leaders at Fountain Church, and we talked about the leaders of the different churches. So Pastor Peter is my older brother. Some people say we look alike. I don't know.
I can see the resemblance.
Do you see the resemblance?
Yeah.
I don't see it, but I'm getting that a lot. But yeah, so one of the youth leaders in Ashford at Fountain Church, and just really excited to just kind of have this discussion with you guys, and just do you know what I mean, chill and have good vibes, and see where it takes us as well. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, like I say, we haven't actually, well, we've not seen each other together on camera since July.
A long time, yeah.
It's been a long time. So how's summer been?
Good summer.
Good summer.
Yeah,
good
yeah.
August. Good time off.
It has been actually, and do you know what I would say is it was necessary. You know, you don't always realize how much you need to rest until we do rest.
Yeah. Until we had that episode on rest.
Exactly.
And then everyone was like, we all need to rest.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we took time off. Yeah.
No, really, I would say a good summer probably primarily for that, just to take some time off, and especially for these kind of things. I think you get to a point sometimes where you need to just sort of recharge, spend more time yourself with God, and sort of just keep developing that relationship as well. So really, really valuable, I'd say.
Yeah. And how was your summer? I know recently what you've been up to. So
my summer's been great. I wouldn't say the weather's been too great.
No,
true. I don't feel like we've had a summer in that aspect, in that respect. You know what I mean? But
maybe it's coming. Maybe
it's coming.
Yeah. Maybe it's still coming. Maybe summer's not over.
Late summer. But it has been really busy.
Yeah.
Preparing for the wedding.
Yeah.
1 week married.
It's
been thank you. It's been really busy, but I just want to thank God for sustaining me and Norma, and just sustaining myself with everything. A lot of changes happening, so it's been a busy one. So maybe rest will come for me. A little bit later.
Thank you for being on here 1 week
after the wedding.
So soon after the wedding. Thank you for coming on.
For having me.
And so tonight we have. I keep saying tonight. That's just a habit. Tonight.
It's tonight for you guys.
Yes, tonight for you guys. So tonight we have I guess it's almost like a part 2, because we've had a part 1 of this topic. Well, it would have been probably like middle of March. It was early last year.
I feel it's back in November. Maybe you guys let us know in the comments. I think it was as far back as November.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. So tonight's thing is part 2 on manhood. And the first part of this session, which you led, was fantastic. You had a lot of guests on. There was a lot of people had given input and videos and things, and the feedback from you guys watching at home was incredible for that session. And again, you can find that online. Don't switch away now. And again, just because we're talking about manhood, ladies, if you're watching, you don't have to switch it off.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's something for everybody in what we're talking about tonight. So,
I think it's actually a good thing if the ladies watch it.
I think
get some insight on how we perceive things, and the topics that we're going to be talking about. I think it's going to be really, really helpful. So definitely, you guys need to be watching.
Definitely watch this. Maybe we should get the ladies. They're downstairs currently. Maybe we should get them in and see how many people we can cram on camera. So I'm going to kick things off tonight with a question which I'm going to throw out to you guys. Now, what does the word manhood mean to you? Now, I've got the official definitions from the dictionary, but sometimes dictionary definitions don't really encapsulate what it actually means to live it out. So, why don't you kick us off, Joel?
I mean, such a big question. I'm wondering if one of the dictionary definitions is, just biologically what is a man, but I guess the way for me I take that question is, what are the characteristics that I would say makes you a man, and something I've definitely think of quite a lot is what would I say makes me a man now compared to a boy, because at some point there's been a transition change, hasn't there? I will say there's a lot of answers to it, but some sort of characteristics I would say jump out to me over the past few years are one, consistency. I will say consistency is something that I think distinguishes a man from a boy. Being linked to consistency, being someone of your word, and I would also say the willingness to submit to God is something I would say for me, I'm learning that I really feel that is something that distinguishes a man from a boy. And I'd say it in the sense of when I was younger. Well, that's actually a Bible verse, isn't it? When I was younger, when I became a man, I put away my childish things, and I would think, you know, I'm sure we'll get into it, but there's kind of some maybe stereotypes that we have of men, and one of them that is almost like flipped in terms of the opposite of that I'm realizing makes a real man is surrendering to God. Whereas I think, you know, the world might say that's quite a weak quality to have, but I'm realizing it's the complete opposite. And you know, when I was what I would say a boy, when I was younger, I don't think it's to do with physical age, but you know, that kind of mental immaturity of just thinking I've got all the answers, I can figure this out. You may even have a relationship with God, but you're not willing to give it all to him, at least not certain aspects. And as much as I wouldn't say I'm perfect at that now, I would say I'm learning that lesson a lot. You know, I think that's something I see, is that I would call myself a man now because I realize I can't have all the answers, and I really need to be humble before God. Whereas when I was not a man, I would say I wouldn't have had that kind of mindset. So yeah, that's if I was to sum up, I mean, it's a huge topic, but that would kind of be, I guess, where I'd start with that definition.
No, that's good. And Isaiah, what does the word manhood mean to you?
It's such a great question, to be honest, because there's so much that can be said. I wouldn't even know where to start. I think we know what Joel, what he said. I think it was 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11. Just wanted to read it out here. It says, "When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways." So there is an element of understanding what is it to be a child, or what is childish ways as well. And I think it's important to kind of have that understanding of what that is, and seeing what the crossover is, but also what he literally also what you said about submitting yourself to God. I think that's a massive thing, because for me, to be a man is to have direction. And I feel that, you know, when you have that direction from God and you're submitting yourself to God, then you can direct yourself and potentially others. When it when you come to the next stage of your life to leading a family, I feel like you can't do that without God. And I think that is a massive responsibility for the man to have that. And there's also other things about, you know, the fruit of the Spirit as well. I think you can incorporate that, and really understanding what that is and implementing that into your life with the responsibility that you have, or you feel like you should have. For me, would be like, this is manhood now. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I'd say.
No.
Do you guys think we ask ourselves that question enough, or do you think it's important to ask that question? Because that's when you're saying it like just now, I can't lie, inside you think, snap. Like,
you are thinking,
you go through your whole life as a man thinking, well, of course I'm a man. But when you're actually asked to explain, well, you say you're a man, so what is it?
What makes you
of inside, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm feeling like, all right, but how would I actually define it? So I mean, do you think it's an important question that we're asking ourselves?
Yeah, and I mean, when I was looking this up, like I said, I had the definition, like for what the dictionary says, and I think you guys have explained it far better than the dictionary does. But in its basis, it was about that transition from boy to man. It's about becoming a man rather than a child. And with that, like you shared, it has certain qualities that, you know, maybe when we think about it, we attribute those qualities with being a man. And there's this phrase that I'm sure you've both heard, and you hear it a lot, especially growing up, when people say to you, "Man up, man up." And you know, maybe you are showing some emotion, maybe you are showing your weaknesses, and someone will say to you, "Oh, man up." And it kind of gets used as almost a bit of an insult. It'll, you know, if you're with friends, they may say it as a bit of a joke, you know, a bit of banter between friends and things. But normally, it kind of is a little bit. There's kind of a twist on it. It's kind of being used like, you're not being a man because you're showing emotion or because you're crying, and you need to stop crying. You know, it's almost like they put something wrong. Or, you know, there's something wrong with you. You need to man up. And it always seems to be, that phrase always seems to come through as like being strength related. Like, you know, you're showing weaknesses, man up. And when people say that to you, you always find it always like goes back through to that, just the strength side and that the showing your weaknesses side.
Yeah.
And maybe that's how society sees how men should be, in terms of maybe men shouldn't show weaknesses. Maybe they should always have this front on in terms of strength and not show any chinks in the armor as such. And so, yeah, when I was thinking about that phrase, and I've had it said to me before, man up, and sometimes you just kind of you brush it off, and you think, oh, I'll stop crying, or I'll stop, whatever it is you've been told to man up about. But when you think about it, actually, it's okay as a man to show emotion, and it's okay as a man to cry. And I think, and maybe that's where there's this disconnect, maybe how the world sees what a man should be, and how, as Christians, we believe a man can be. And as Christians, obviously, we've got the best example. As Christians, our life is to become more Christ-like. Everything we do in life is to become more Christ-like, and that's including taking on the attributes of Christ. And he was able to show emotion. He was able to empathize with people. And
the shortest verse in the Bible, isn't it? Jesus wept.
Yeah. And it's for a reason.
Yeah.
There's a lot of emphasis on that.
Yeah. It's just on its own, isn't it? It's just the shortest verse, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Jesus wept, and you think, okay, as a Christian, we've got this example of how a man should live, and that's something as Christian men that we can aspire to. And maybe that's where there's this kind of disconnect in the world. I feel it's very strength heavy. The worldview of a man, it's very much provider, strong, no weaknesses. Would you guys agree with that?
You know what? I would say
or disagree with it.
It's a shame what the perception is, because there's so many things that the Bible says about how a man should be, but it's easier said than kind of done, if that makes sense. Even in my own experience or the culture that I'm kind of engrossed in, for a lot of African men, or you know how it is, old school, they don't like to show emotion. Even they don't like to show emotion. It's quite a tough thing, and I feel like I've kind of taken that as well. I do feel like, if we're going to be real, I do feel like I struggle to show emotion sometimes, to cry and stuff like that. I struggle with that, and I think a lot of the people that are going to be watching may be able to relate to that as well. But that doesn't then make you not a man, because you're crying. Do you know what I mean? I don't. It's a hard one to try and. It's a hard one to try and kind of.
But I know where you're coming from, because that's the thing. It's we're all brought up, and your idea of what a man is just what you see sort of put before you. And it was the same for me. You pick up things. I always remember my mum saying, I've never seen your dad cry. So she didn't. That was never taught to me as that's therefore how you be. But you just internalize it. So then when I've become older, I thought, well, okay, that's what a man is. I was thinking, true, I've never seen my dad cry. So therefore that's how I'm meant to carry myself. And similar to you, Isaiah, is that then even to now, it's quite a struggle. It's not that I don't feel emotion, but I can feel it well up, and then it's it sticks. I can feel it wants to come out. And I've genuinely had to pray to God, as in God, you need to help me to cry. But I think within that's because I could just tell inside there was certain emotions that were unhealthily being kept in. I will say, that being said, in answer to your question, I do find that a lot of the time how the world will present things is always going to be off the mark of what God would want. And I definitely find in my journey as a Christian is that there's so much balance to be had.
Yeah.
And I completely agree. You know, growing up, I think more the trend was like you're saying, that phrase of like man up in a negative connotation, as in you shouldn't be emotional, you shouldn't be upset or afraid, or any of these things were viewed as bad, and you were almost kind of encouraged from young, don't be like that. What I think I see now, in my opinion, is almost the opposite being preached in the world, as in every man should just let your emotions out there. Just don't be afraid. Just cry, like, you know, share with everyone your fears, your insecurities. I don't believe that that's also the right way to be 100%. Not in that way. I think there's a balance.
Yeah,
there is a balance. Yeah.
Like I say, it's part of the journey of being a believer, is that you're figuring out, God, where's the balance for me? Because I don't agree that, you know, we should all be stoic and just holding our emotions in and not letting anyone apart from ourselves know, because it causes so many problems, even like a lot of mental health issues and everything. But at the same time, I'm realizing, I think particularly now being married, is that, you know, there's wisdom in who I share my emotions with and how I share it. And a good example is, you know, there was a time that my wife was really sick. She was in hospital, and of course it gave me so many negative emotions. I was upset, I was scared, I was angry. And, you know, I started I shared it all with her. And do you know what I very quickly learned? I don't think that was the wisest approach. I have a good close network of guys. I had people that I think I could have shared that with, because I was almost like putting more stress onto my wife, who was going through stress. For me, that's where I'd say the balance is. I don't think God was saying, yeah, Joel, deal with that yourself. But I realized, do you know what? I don't think that was the wisest. My wife needed me to be the solid strength for her. And I think, you know, there's a certain way that, for example, husbands are meant to be biblically. And so that's where I kind of feel the balance is, do you know what I mean? Is that it's not that we shouldn't share our emotions, but I do kind of get the impression that the world's view of what we should do is now the opposite, in terms of, just tell everyone how you feel, never hide anything. I don't think it's the wisest thing. You know, if I'm going through a tough time and I'm struggling, I wouldn't say it's necessarily the wisest thing that I just burst into tears in my office at work. I'm not saying if it happens there's anything wrong. I would never say that means you're not a man. But, you know, that I still think, you know, there's a benefit to be had of that control over your emotions. And being able to share that with the right people, not necessarily everyone.
And it's an interesting point you when talking about emotions, and I just wanted to explore that a little bit in sense of, as men in general, do you think that firstly we maybe struggle to communicate our emotions? I know for me personally, sometimes I find it hard to put into maybe words, or you struggle to get it out there and try and explain maybe an emotion or kind of what you're feeling. And sometimes that's because you're uncomfortable about talking about your emotions. And I think that the second bit maybe we can explore is, do you think that as men we need to be better at creating a network of people close to us where we can share those emotions? Because, you know, I know a lot of guys, and they wouldn't feel comfortable talking about their emotions with the people they count as their best friends. And if there's certain things like that, you know, some people wouldn't have anybody to share and process anything with. And that's when it gets bottled up, and like you say, you know, it then becomes overwhelming later down the line, you know, and it shows itself in different ways. So do you think that's something that as men we need to get better at, maybe, is finding a way to express our emotions in a different way, or having people around us that we trust enough to be able to learn to do that? Because it's not a case of like one day you wake up and be like, today, okay, I'm going to find my friend and I'm going to share and express what I'm going through, these emotions that I feel overwhelmed with. But I think it's important that you almost start somewhere with it, even if you can't fully put into words kind of what you're feeling. It's important that you start that journey of being able to try and understand. And I think that's kind of where maybe like men and women differ. You know, quite often you think women have their friendship groups and they're very eloquent quite often in the way they can describe how they're feeling and things. And sometimes I think I wouldn't know where to start if someone asked me, okay, describe to me like how you're feeling. I don't think I've got like one word, you know, like happy, sad, or and that's probably the end of my description maybe of an emotion. Is, you know, it's kind of, I feel this, and then that's all I've got. That's all I've got to describe that emotion. So, Isaiah, do you think that it's important for men to have a network of people that they feel comfortable with? And do you think it's better? And do you think that men need to, again, men generalising here, need to kind of be better at explaining their emotions or communicating their emotions?
You know what? Thanks for that, bro. I think it is important to. I think it is important to have. I think in general have a good network of friends. Not just about being able to express your emotions, but I think just in general as well to support you. You know, Proverbs. There's a lot of scripture in Proverbs that talk about having wise counsel and having, the people that you're around are so significant. They can either make you or break you. If I could go as far as saying that, you know, the people that you are around can really help you to become a better man as well. And that's why I think it's so important when you're even having that transition of becoming or being a child and becoming a man. I think it's a really important, and I think that's where, for me, I had that calling of helping the youth, because that's such an important stage in someone's life, and having the right amount of people and be able to impact them in the right way is so important, because it can then help them to find the people that they need to become the person that God wants them to be. But I would definitely say that it's really important, and that is something that even I'm continuing to work on and continually kind of assessing who I'm, do you know what I mean, who I interact with and who I want to get close with. You know, there's some people that you could easily just vibe with, but they may not be the right person for you. Just because you vibe with them doesn't mean that they're going to help you to get to the place that you need to get to. Does that make sense?
Of course,
So I would say, it's really important to have that close knit, people, but the right people, the right people.
Selective in who you share information with.
Share things with. Pray about things, and as you said, just about the emotions as well. Like to be able to be vulnerable in front of them. Do you know what I mean? So that's. I don't know if I went a bit off topic.
No,
not
at all. This wasn't the emotion. It wasn't even in my topic. I just thought it was a really interesting point that you picked up on there. So, no, that's good. So let's move on to, I guess, my second kind of point of discussion, which is, and you've touched on this earlier in your definition, but it's to do with the qualities of a man, and then in brackets I've got a godly man. See, we're Christians here, and we try to live our lives as faith-filled godly men. And so, what would you say? And I've got a list of things here. So I'll reel off my first one, and then I'll open the floor to you guys, and you can throw in what you think is a quality of a godly man. So the first one on my list is someone who's committed to God and to family. Committed, and I think this kind of ties in with your consistency. It's because to be committed, there's a consistency that happens, and sometimes that happens behind the scenes. People don't necessarily see the work that goes in to being committed. It's like, for example, like on the team here at Unsubscribe, it's you're committed to the team, and you commit to doing the sessions. But so people see you sat in front of the camera delivering a session, but they haven't seen necessarily the decisions that you've had to make consistently to get to that position in terms of planning and preparing and praying and all of these things. And so, yeah, for my first one, it's about a godly man being committed to God and to his family and to leading his family. And in that is just, I guess it's being consistent in those small decisions.
Yeah.
Every day. What am I gonna do today? How am I gonna react to this? How am I gonna approach this situation? And that is that consistency which builds into commitment.
Yeah.
So that's my first quality. So I'm gonna open the floor, and someone can throw out another quality that they think makes a godly man.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. I've got one.
They're quite open questions.
Yeah.
I would say, and please, jump in on if you feel like you disagree, but acknowledging your weaknesses. Why I say that, and it reminds me of a scripture in 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Yeah, it says, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness.
Yeah.
Therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses and insults and hardships and persecution and difficulties." Why I said that scripture, or why I read that scripture was, I think there can be an element where you feel like you can do things on your own. You feel like, and there's no room for weakness, or there's been times where I feel like, I can only do this in my own strength. I'm doing this in my own strength, and I feel like it's really important to acknowledge that you need God in your life, but also the times where you perhaps fall short is not also just it's not a bad thing. Like, if you know what I mean, like, it's not a bad thing. It's to that's an opportunity for you to be like, you know what, God, I need your help, and I want you to work in me. I want you to work in me in this area, in this certain thing. And I feel like that is an important, and I think a really important element to being a man, is to acknowledge some of the weaknesses or that you have, and allows you to then allow God to work in you, and also it'll be a testimony to others as well. Because no one's perfect. Do you know what I mean? We need to remember that no one's perfect, and having God in our lives and God constantly changing us is just an opportunity to just show how good God is. I feel like that's something for me. I don't please.
I'd say 100%. It's a case of like when you acknowledge a weakness, or you go to and you acknowledge something, that's like the first step to improving, or the first step that you have to take to get better at something, is acknowledging that you might suck at it. And I mean, I believe God's got a sense of humor sometimes with these things. I mean, if you pray in the morning before you go to work, like, God, I need more patience and things. How many things happen throughout that day that test your patience? Yeah. You'll get in the car, you'll drive to work, you'll be stuck in the traffic. There'll be like one thing after another. And I'm like, no, I prayed this morning. I prayed this morning for more patience. Yeah. And
that's so important, Yeah. That's really important, Yeah, I think it's...
Yeah, and it's like that. It's like the thing you say, okay, we acknowledge a weakness, and that in itself, I think sometimes as a guy can be hard.
Yeah,
is acknowledging that you suck at something, or there's an area of your life that you're like, I'm ashamed maybe of that area, and
communication or emotions.
Yeah, exactly. But I loved the way that you said it, because I think that's for me, it's like acknowledging your weakness is the key thing. Like I'm saying that, I think there's maybe different ways the world will tell you to be. Like, sometimes it will tell you man up might mean never share anything. Sometimes man up might mean actually we got it wrong, you should share everything. But I think the difference between like a godly man and a man that the world would dictate is, I feel that the world just deals with symptoms. So there might be a symptom where they're thinking, well, none of these men have taken responsibility, so the symptom of that we're seeing in this, so actually men should always just not share their emotions. And then you see symptoms of how that plays out. So they're thinking, well, actually, no, we should tell our young men to share their emotions all the time. But that's just dealing with symptoms. But I think the root of where it comes from is like what you're saying, acknowledging weakness.
Yeah.
We're all unique. We all might have different ways of dealing with something. I think, the impression I get is the world would suggest that there's a catch-all approach for like all three of us.
Yeah.
So it would say, for me, for you, this is what you should always do with your emotions.
Yeah.
But we're built differently.
Yeah.
So it might mean that, a situation that's right for you to cry, it might be right for me to go to my quiet place and pray, and it might be right for you to, persevere and carry on. God knows us each individually, and maybe it's interchangeable how we're going to deal with certain situations. Yeah. But what is true for everyone is the acknowledgement of thinking, well, that's an area I'm struggling with. Yeah. And that's something that I think is not always obvious to see. And I know the more men that I've seen that acknowledge mistakes, acknowledge their weaknesses, it's been really inspiring for me.
Really, yeah.
But I think it's like a thing that we have in our mind. We'd probably all admit that the people that inspire us are the men that just acknowledge where they've gone wrong or where they need to improve. But then you see them like being committed and making the steps to do it. But then when it comes to ourselves, we have the flip mindset where we're thinking, but I shouldn't really admit that because, this person thinks of me like this person thinks of me like that. So I can't shatter their illusion of me. So I better just figure this one out. Yeah. But, I think acknowledging your weaknesses is so important. And it doesn't mean that you have to deal with it a set way. Yeah. But just acknowledging it is what makes you grow and become a better person, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And when you get to that place where you feel you're ready to acknowledge something, and like that's when you've got to be prepared for God to work in your life. Yeah. And it's because He will. Well, if you acknowledge and you go to Him and say, look, God, I need help in this area. I need whether it's emotions or, maybe lust, all these different areas, that men sometimes struggle with. It's like that first step of acknowledging that you need help in an area, and that you may feel ashamed about it, but you got to then be prepared that actually the next bit might be a little bit uncomfortable because God, like acknowledging it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a bed of roses just because you've acknowledged it. There's going to be there's going to be some change that has to happen, and change is sometimes uncomfortable, and God will put His finger on things, and that's just part of our, I guess, growth as Christians and as humans. As we could admit that we need help in that, God will help us. We got to be prepared for that. And sometimes it gets a little bit uncomfortable. Yeah, it's at that point that you have to think, okay, no, I'm gonna stick this out. I'm gonna see this through, because the result at the end of it, God's not going to leave you where you were. He's gonna change you. He's gonna pull you into a new place, whether that's a new mindset, new frame of mind, a new way of thinking about something, or just Him changing the situation completely that you find yourself in. But you've got to be after you acknowledge, you've got to be prepared that, okay, you acknowledge, and then you kind of go on this journey, and that journey is not always easy. But it's important that we remain committed through that journey, because it's that commitment through that journey to commitment to change that's going to give us the results at the end of it. And I loved what Isaiah, you touched on. Actually, I've got it down here, which is you were kind of speaking about the whole mentorship to younger men, and things, and like I think that plays a big part in becoming a man in society today. Is what male role models do you have, and where do you look to for your guidance and things. And so you touched on that you've been involved in youth work, and that was one of the things that you loved about it, in terms of us being able to. It was such like a crucial age that you could speak into the young men's lives and help them in that time. Is that have you, throughout your life, have you had people like speaking into your life? Have you had people that you class as mentors?
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely say that my brother was one of he was the youth leader before becoming the lead pastor at Fountain Church, and I was able to I feel really blessed to have had that He's gone through a lot of things. He's been through a lot of experiences that he allowed us to, he imparted that kind of wisdom on certain things, and he's just been a really good role model. Obviously, my dad as well. I feel like I've been quite blessed. To have some really good men in my life. And yeah, so I'll say those are the main two really. I'll say that.
No, and it's so key, isn't it, to have people that you can kind of look to and look at for how to behave and for wisdom in situations and things.
Definitely.
But you know what though, I will say this, and it just got me thinking was even though I've said that my brother and my dad were role models as well, but subconsciously perhaps there has been other role models because and the way that we dress, right? Where does that come from? Where have we got that influence from? The way that we talk, there's certain things that we say. Is that through the music that we listen to? Is it? Do you know what I mean? What is it? What is it that has influenced that? Because even though it's not a role model as such, but that is, a role model is something that, or someone that you look up to or influences you. So what are the other kind of role models that have kind of made you the person that you are? And it's a question. I thought I'd just get it out there, really. Do you know what I mean?
It's a good point. Because I would say as well, it's a lot of us probably not aware that you could probably say, I don't have any role models, but like you were saying, we do, but it's just maybe you don't acknowledge it. Because I know for me, growing up, I just almost idolized certain celebrities. Like I primarily grew up around a lot of women, like pretty much raised by my mom and stuff like that. So when I was getting to that age of, thinking, I'm a man now, it's and I always preface this by saying this is no disrespect to my dad. Me and him have got a great relationship now. But it's just, some things that had gone on when I was younger just meant at that stage of my life, I was thinking, I don't know who to look up to. And I just viewed certain celebrities or music artists and that, and I would just try and mimic them. And for me, I was always just trying to copy, to be like, well, I like that quality, and trying to be a man. But I can honestly say that as much as it helped me to a certain point, it would never have got me to where I am now, where I can say I'm truly a man. Even to the point where I'm, can say confidently on camera that, me and my own dad have a great relationship now and stuff like that. And that's why, as controversial as it would sound, I stand by my opinion in that I don't think you can ever become a real man until you know God, because I think you can come maybe close, or you may become it in the world's eyes, but I would say that I don't think you can be a real man until you know God. And the reason I'll say that is because I don't think you can know yourself until you know God. You can think you know yourself, or you could think that you're displaying qualities of who you want to be, but knowing God shows you everything about yourself. It shows you, the weaknesses. It shows you the potential that you have. It just shows you everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. Me, becoming a Christian and developing that relationship with God, only then did I really start to think, this is who Joel is. It's not, there's no point me trying to keep looking to these outside influences and trying to mimic them. I think once you've got the foundation, then the role models and the people in your life, they can really influence you in a practical way. But I would say that until you truly, know God, even if your role models are good, you're always going to be falling short at some point, because internally you're never going to really know who you are. Like, I could have the best mentors in the world, the best guys around me that are solid men of God, the best pastors. I could have everything. But if I don't know God, at some point it will stop short, because I will think, well, I'm never going to be Isaiah. I'm never going to be Sam. So I have to get to a point where I think, well, I'm meant to be me. And I don't think you can know that until you know God. So I'll say, like, that's, for me, probably the biggest quality of what it means to be a man is to know God, basically.
That's brilliant. And I just wanted to pick up on something that you've both touched on, which is this kind of balance between, I guess, intentional role models and maybe unintentional role models. You know, you can, you know, you're saying in terms of like fashion and music and yourself with, you know, celebrities and things. It's not, if someone said to you in that moment, like, who's your role model, you wouldn't necessarily say a celebrity, or so, you know, there's people that you kind of you subconsciously you kind of following them in sense of what they do, how they speak, how they act, and it's not even a case that you may be fully aware of it, that they've become your role model in essence, which is so important. That I think as men, it's important that we, you know, it's good to have someone who's older, wiser, someone that we can confide in, someone that we can almost be accountable to check it, someone to check in with us. You know, how's it going? And it's good to make that an intentional decision, like to make, you know, a conscious decision to say, no, I'm gonna invite someone in that I trust, that will call me out on things when I mess up, or you know, when they see something in my life that's not quite right. Because I think if we don't become intentional about those things, then it's very easy to let all these other influences into our life.
Yeah, so true.
And it's that kind of point of making the decision. No, okay, I'm gonna make this decision. I'm gonna ask this person, and then that, you know, that kind of then it stops you from just finding role models. Just you know, all these things that we take in from the media, social media. It's good to kind of just be intentional about that, and I hope that makes sense to everyone listening at home. But it's just kind of, it's important, I think, as men, that we find someone that we trust. You know, whether it's, you know, a pastor, a close friend, someone who's older and wiser than us, who's been around longer than us, you know, has got good advice in situations. Someone that we can go to, that we trust, so that when we're facing things in our own life, we feel comfortable that we've got someone there that we can confide in, rather than being like, oh no, I'm stuck in this situation, let's see what social media recommends. Like, let me try and find the answers through music videos or what, you know.
And it's so hard when you're doing that, because like I say, that was me as a teenager. And it's like, you can just get so into it, but no person is going to necessarily, especially celebrities and that, they're not going to teach you all the intricacies of life. Like one of my idols when I was young was Thierry Henry. But I used to do anything Thierry Henry, and the battle for me was, I'm a Spurs fan, so I had to kind of keep it on the down low. Quiet. I used to, he used to wear his socks above his knee, so I would wear my socks above my knee. He wore gloves. Nike, I would wear gloves, like
black gloves.
Exactly.
It was one of my
like the way he would play, the way he would try and finish. I would just do everything Thierry Henry did. But you know, as good as that is, I'm not saying it's not good to be influenced by people and be inspired. But you know, like now, imagine like trying to be a husband or try to carry myself in my office job. Thierry Henry can't tell me how to.
What would Thierry Henry do?
That's what I mean. I probably needed that.
Under the suit trousers, he has his socks above the knees.
I've got a strange office outfit because of Henry. But that's the thing. Is like, I think there's probably a line that got confused to me, in the sense of whereas someone can be an inspiration for you. I guess because I was kind of so lost, I just thought, well, I just want to be that person. But what I would say to anyone that, you know, is maybe watching this, maybe you're young, you don't even have to be young, but if you're in that similar situation where you just think, you know, I don't know who to be, you know, I'm hearing these amazing stories of people that have had mentors and that's not me. One of the qualities I would say of a man is responsibility, like taking responsibility. And I would say that's something that is important. Sometimes the cycle that I think can play out is, if you come from situations where you suddenly think, well, actually, who did I have that taught me this? You can get into that mindset where you just could almost feel sorry for yourself, and then think, well, you know, that's the cards I was dealt. And but the cycle will always keep repeating itself. I know, to go back to, you know, saying, you know, when I really got to know God, I got to know myself. One of the biggest lessons God taught me is, these people that you're hurt by and that you're upset by, they're human just like you. Even the people that you held up so highly, like your father and everyone, they're human. And I remember like when I got to an age one time where I remember thinking, wait, when my dad was this age, I was already 3 years old or something like that, and I was thinking, snap, I wouldn't know how to raise a kid now. Like I'm making so many mistakes, but yeah, because he was my dad, he had to be perfect. He could never make mistakes. And it was like a real revelation to me that like, yeah, everybody is human, you know, everybody's going to make mistakes. So there's no point having this mindset of, well, you know, just because I didn't have this, then, you know, what's the point? We can all take responsibility for our own lives. We can all, you know, take that decision to be, yeah, these are some areas that I want to try and reflect. And then we can, like you're saying, Isaiah, then we can, you know, take it upon ourselves to try and think, actually, is there anyone I can maybe share this with? Can I mentor someone? Even if you're not doing it practically, can I just live my life in a way that I would be happy for someone to try and mimic that? But I think it's important because I think, you know, sometimes as men, if we don't take responsibility, we can take the easy way out and think, oh, that's not my job to do. That's you know, I could think, well, you know, Isaiah, he had a great, you know, he had a great brother and this and that, so that's his job. But I don't really need to worry about that because but that would just be a lack of responsibility on my side. There's no excuse for me not to become the best version of me that I can be. But I do think, you know, that's probably one of the weaknesses that we fall into as men is we don't want to take responsibility. And it's the easy way out. It's comfortable. We're very good at rationalizing why we should take the easy way out. But we know deep down, you know, as uncomfortable as it will be, you know, taking responsibility is often where we grow, and then the people that are in our lives usually grow at the same time. So I think it's really important, you know, as a man, equality is taking responsibility for yourself, for sure.
No, that's brilliant, and I'm conscious of time, but we'll keep going.
I always forget about the time.
I can see the recording time, but we'll keep going. So before we finish off, I wanted just to talk about. I've got five short points that I've written down about how can we become godly men. How can and what things can we start to do in our lives to become a godly man, and again a woman of God, godly woman as well. I think these things are, you know, these things can apply to both. So the first one I've got down is, and again this is kind of tied to responsibility, but the first one I've got down is called step up. To lead, initiate, reject passivity, assume this is your moment and your job. How many times in situations, and I know for me, maybe my kind of natural character would be I'd kind of maybe sit back. I'm fairly relaxed. Charlotte thinks I'm horizontal. I don't really, you know, things don't really faze me too much. And sometimes I have to make the conscious decision to reject passivity, because for me that, like, my comfort zone is just I'm quite happy there. But there's times and situations that happen that need me to step up in a situation and lead in a situation and take a bit of control, you know, otherwise the situation is going to be controlling me and my family. And so the first one is step up. Now the second one I've got down is speak out. Be courageous, fear God, not man, speak truth in love. Now I guess this is kind of about having the courage to speak out when you see things around you that need to be called out. Because sometimes it's easy for us to keep our mouths zipped and not say anything, because maybe we're fearful of what man might, you know, other people around us may think of us if we speak up. And no, it's not even just about calling people out. It can be about sticking up for somebody. You know, you see a situation happen, and what do you do in that situation? Do you just pretend like you've not seen it happen, or do you choose to actually say, no, actually I'm going to stand up for that person. I'm going to interject here, and I'm going to say something, because, you know, I've seen that happen, and I believe it's wrong, and I need to go in and say something. And there's a verse in Proverbs, I'm just going to flash it up on screen. An open rebuke is better than hidden love. Wounds from a sincere friend are better than many kisses from an enemy. Now, wounds from a sincere friend, sometimes we see our friends and, and again, if you have that kind of close relationship that we spoke about earlier with friends and things, and you see them maybe do something or act in a certain way. Like if I'd hope that my friends would say something to me if they'd seen something in me or my life, especially like close friends that, had messed up or had said something or emotions got the better of me. I'd want people to say, "Hey, Sam, just take a second, look at this, with a bit more thought, with a bit more rationale, sort of thing."
Yeah, it's a good litmus test, isn't it? So what we were saying before about, you could vibe with someone, but they may not be the right person for you. If there's something that you've done and the person that you're with or your friend does not call you out on it, you need to think, is this person good for me or gonna build me up? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And definitely, I think when people in my life have called me out on things, I just respect them more.
It's not pleasant though, is it?
It's not. It's not pleasant, and it's similar. To yourself. Charlotte and I were involved in youth work out in Dubai, and sometimes you'd have to have those awkward conversations with youth, or you'd have to message someone and say, "Hey, look, let's go grab a coffee," and you have to have those tough conversations with them. But it's important because, in fact, I love you more than I don't want to see you in that situation. I don't want to see you left in that situation.
Yeah.
And God certainly doesn't want to see you left in that situation. So in this moment, I'm going to choose to put my own I don't even know the word. Discomfort, yeah. My own discomfort aside for a moment and say, you know what, I'm gonna speak out, I'm gonna be courageous, and I'm gonna speak the truth in love to you.
It's funny how they link, isn't it? Because to do that, you have to not be passive. Like sometimes in the group, it can be easy to think, I feel like my good friend isn't behaving or being the way that I know is them, but I just don't want the drama. Like I don't want. So it's easy just to be like, I won't say nothing. Like, but probably we've all had experiences where sometimes we have said something, that person's been like, you know what, like I've been going through this, that, and it's a real conviction for me sometimes because I thought, wow, like all the times that I would not have said something, and maybe that person needed me to say something, but like you're saying, Sam, I just didn't want to risk being uncomfortable. Having my friend think bad of me, so it was easy to be passive and not say something.
No, definitely. And the next one, I think most of these points, they all kind of, I guess I've separated them out, but they all kind of they're all kind of one. The third one is stand strong. As godly men, we need to stand strong. When you choose to step up, when you choose to speak out, you're gonna maybe get criticism.
True.
You're gonna maybe get attacked, maybe not physically, but things may come against you, and it's in that moment, do you choose to back down, or do you choose to remain true to what you believe in your convictions and what you know to be true? So 1 Corinthians 15, where did I put it? There it is. It says, "So my dear brothers and sisters, be strong and immovable, always work enthusiastically for the Lord, for you know that nothing you do for the Lord is ever useless." Sometimes I think we think, maybe there's no use in. What's the point? And again, reject passivity. It's important to stand strong. If you believe it, then it's like stand up and be counted. If that's what you believe, then we, I think, as Christians, we have a responsibility to stand up and speak out. And sometimes I think, recently there's a lot of things going on social media, and people will say, maybe the Christians, they should just be quiet. Like they've had enough of the Christians piping up and saying their 2 cents. But if that's what you believe, then I feel you should stand up and speak out, and I think there comes some wisdom around that. I think there's a time and a place for everything. It's not a case of just being I believe it's.
Yeah,
I'm just going to go around and shout it out on every street corner. You know, there's a time and a place for all this thing, and there's a wisdom that comes with it. But yeah, as Christian men and women, we should stand strong. You know, like it says there, nothing that you ever do for God it's not going to be useless. You know, God's going to use it. My fourth point: stay humble.
That's the hard one.
So yeah, when you step up, you speak out, you stand strong. Can sometimes pride then can start to come in. So stay humble, be vigilant against pride. And then I wrote down this quote that I read online, and it's about remaining humble. It says, "Don't think less of yourself; think of yourself less."
Yeah.
Ooh, say that again.
Yeah.
So it says, "Don't think less of yourself; think of yourself less." When people talk about being humble, do people think, well, I can't be maybe proud of things I'm good at?
Yeah, like devalue yourself.
Yeah, devalue maybe, you know, your skills and your gifts and things you've been good at. That's not what being humble is.
Yeah.
Humble's not about putting yourself down and putting yourself down about the things you're good at. But it's just, like it says there, it's about thinking of yourself less and thinking of others more.
Yeah.
And so stay humble. In 1 Peter 5, again I've written this out. Oh, it's a long one. In the same way, you who are younger must accept the authority of the elders, and all of you dress yourselves in humility as you relate to one another. For God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. And I think we can all put our hands up and say we need more of God's grace in our lives. So humble yourselves under the mighty power of God, and at the right time He will lift you up in honor. Give all your worries and cares to God, for He cares about you.
That's, you know what? That's actually really deep. Oppose is a strong word. It's actually a really strong word. God opposes the proud. Do you want God to be your opposition?
Yeah, it's deep when you say it like that, isn't it?
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no stipulation. There's no, like, even if you're in praise and worship, or if, do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what. Like, if you're proud, if you're proud, sorry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
It's not saying like if you're proud, God doesn't like it. Like
or
if you're proud,
serving or doing other things.
Like God's against you if you're proud. You're right. And you know, who would want that? Like the worst opposition to have in the world would be God.
You wouldn't want that. Scary. And I love what it goes on to say. I'll just stick it back on the screen. It says, so humble yourselves under the mighty power of God, and at the right time He will lift you up in honor. So often we I guess we get proud of maybe our skills or our acts, or, you know, things that we're doing, and because we want to lift ourselves up. But it's saying if we remain humble in the right time, God will lift us up and honor us. Like, we don't have to worry about pushing ourselves to the front. And putting the attention on us, because at the right time God will lift us up.
Not just that. Could you get that back up just one more time? Sorry, I'm so sorry. Even the end, it's even still talking about pride. You know, give all your worries and cares to God, because sometimes pride will allow us to, as we said before, do you know what I mean? Like we feel like we need to do everything, or we feel like it's in our own strength. Do you know what I mean? But give all your worries unto God. That's still an element of pride, you know? So and He will lift you up. Like, do you know what I mean? So I thought that was a really powerful scripture.
That's powerful. And I was just going to say, in terms of like when it says give all your worries, how many times do we find ourselves using pride to maybe mask other worries that we have, in terms of you know, maybe think of an example, but you know, in the sense, you know, you may be feeling that, okay, well, I'm lacking in all these, I'm worried about all these other areas in my life, but you get proud in a certain area, and it's kind of compensating for all the other things that you're worried about.
Saying, because it's really reminding me that most times I wouldn't acknowledge that as pride. You know, you put it down to, that's just how I am, that's how I was raised, that's what a man is meant to do. And you're deceiving yourself, because when you point that out, it's quite clear in scripture that it's pride.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sentence,
Yeah.
it wasn't put there for no reason.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah.
the
Yeah.
Bible was made up so well,
Yeah.
and there's a meaning for that. Not just because the previous scriptures that are saying about humility or humble, but that is the last bit to it, like just to say, do you know what I mean? He cares. He cares. Yeah, I think it's quite interesting actually.
Yeah.
I don't want to go on.
No. It's important. When we see these things in the scripture, we can talk about these things, and we shouldn't be too. We shouldn't have too much pride that we can't give our worries and cares to God.
Yeah.
That's something that we can, as Christians, we can go to God with kind of anything that we're struggling with in life, anything we're worried about, and we can bring that to Him. And He already knows, those things about us. It's not like we're bringing new information to Him, and it's not about. It's not. Sometimes I think you think, oh, I can't take that to God. I can't talk to God about that because He's going to be surprised, or we think that He's going to be surprised or ashamed, or it's not a surprise. It's not a surprise to God if we go to Him and be like, hey, look, I'm struggling in this area, or hey, I messed up here. It's not like He's going, oh, did you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. It's not new. It's not new to Him, but it's almost that first step of acknowledging, saying like, God, I need you. I need your help in this area in my life. So that's a great scripture in 1 Peter. And the last one that I have down is serve God and others. Seek first His kingdom. And it says this in Matthew 6. I'll pop this up on screen. Seek the kingdom of God above all else and live righteously, and He will give you everything you need. And I think and I think this is something that you spoke on, Joel, in the first Manhood session, in terms of like as a man and providing for your family and the things in terms of as a man we want to be able to provide and work and all of these things. And I love it. It says seek first His kingdom. Yeah. And that's so important. I think as a guy, sometimes we forget that our first thing is to seek God, seek His kingdom, and all these other things, they all fall into place. Like our first responsibility is to seek God for ourselves, and seek God for our family, and seek God for those that we lead. As well. And as part of that is we can then serve others. We can seek God and serve others. And I had one more scripture under this thing, which was in Mark 10. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others, and to give His life as a ransom for many. Jesus came to earth to serve. He came not to be served, but to serve others. And it's one of the things I think it's never serving should never be beneath us. Whatever needs doing. If someone asks, hey, can you clean the toilets this week? Hey, can you at church, in churches around the world, there's so many needs, and areas that they need help in. Whether maybe kids church, they need volunteers for kids church, or they need volunteers to help clean up after the service. It's that point of that there should be nothing service isn't beneath us. As men, we should be the ones who are taking the active role in that and saying, I see a need there, and I'm gonna step up, and I'm gonna help. And I'm gonna help there. Seek first His kingdom. I think that's a big one. I just want to put that up on screen again, that Matthew 6 one. Seek the kingdom of God above all else and live righteously, and He will give you everything you need. I think even for me recently, I've been going through the process of finding a new job, finding something that I know is going to provide for myself and the family and things like that, and see us into this kind of next season in our lives. And sometimes with that, you do kind of get a whole lot of pressure and stress and everything. I need to provide. I need to find a job. I need to promote myself and my skills. I need to do this. But I love what that verse is just a reminder of seek God's kingdom first. Seek God, and He'll take care of you. And then that's important to know as men, is that we don't have to do it on our own, like we spoke about earlier. Maybe we have people around us as well, but seeking first God's kingdom in our lives puts everything else into order. That like sets the priorities of everything else in our life. As long as seeking God's kingdom is first and seeking God, then all of the other things will just fit into they'll just fit into place. And I can't explain how it works, but it's true.
But
it's true, and I've seen it time and time again in my own life. That when you choose to seek God first, all these other things they just fall into place. Things start happening, and maybe sometimes you kind of call them coincidences, and things that you think, oh, that's funny that happened. You think, oh, I don't, actually no, that's something I've been going to God. I've been praying for, and it's I've had people praying with me about this situation, and these things that happen aren't just coincidence. It's God working in your life in through these situations and things like that. And the great thing about being a guy or a lady and stuff is when we serve God, but we can also serve others. We can seek God's kingdom for other people as well. We can stand with them. It kind of ties back into that kind of mentorship. Kind of standing with people and in their situations as well. So I'll just go through those quickly. Step up, speak out, stand strong, stay humble, and serve God and others. So,
and I like just to quickly touch on those points. It's really making me, remember that the Bible is the unchanging thing. The principles are always the same. I think where I get caught out is you go through different seasons in your life, and for some reason, I don't know if it's just me, but that's almost where sometimes if I'm not careful, my mind resets, and then it's like I have to relearn what I already know. So I first became a Christian, and then you start realizing, like Matthew 6:33, like if I seek God first, what's there to worry about? All things come into place. And then then I got married, and for some reason it reset, and I started panicking and worrying again. But the principle is the same. I mean, I'm assuming it's the same being a parent. The principle is the same. But I know if I'm not careful, if I was to have kids, probably if I'm not careful, I'll be, oh no, but I do need to worry about this because now I'm a dad. I can't afford for my kids to not have this and that. But it never changes. Like these principles, it doesn't matter what season of your life you're in, God will always be in control of that situation.
On the unchanging truth of the Word of God. It's it's as relevant back then as it is today, and will continue to be. And it's unchanging, and it's so good that we've got that anchor point that we can go back to. As when we find ourselves worried and stressed, we know we can go back. We know where to find it. We know where to remind ourselves, of it. And that's one of the great things on the Christian walk is that you never kind of have it all together. As in, that's what we kind of, I guess, work towards. But we're never gonna, like I said at the start, as Christian men, we strive to be more Christ-like, more like Jesus, and we look at how Jesus lived his life, and that's a great example for us on how we should live our lives. But we're human. We're never gonna reach that. He was the Son of God. We're never gonna reach that level. But we know where to go back to, like you say, to find these principles and like rules to live life by. And it's amazing that we have that available to us, and it's life-changing 2 weeks ago when you read it. It's life-changing if you open and read it up 2 weeks later, because the Word of God is living, and I believe it's relevant in every situation and every season of life that we go through. It speaks to you in new ways. I mean, even just reading that 1 Peter verse here with you guys,
true.
And you think, okay, well, that's a verse probably over the years I've read so many times. And then we read it together here on the screen, and wow. People are like picking out like different bits for him, like, wow, it takes on like a new meaning, and I haven't thought about that. And that's just one of the incredible things about the Word of God is you can apply it to your life in every situation.
So true.
I just wanted to just finish off. I just really liked what the points that you read out, and it wasn't so biblical in terms of the terminology. Like, do you know what I mean? Like you saying stepping up and stuff like that. I really like that, but I also wanted just to complement it with a scripture,
Yeah.
which I was like, right. I was reading it and I was just like, yeah, she really does make sense. That's what I liked about how you said, but it was in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 11. It says, "But as for you, O man of God, pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, steadfastness, gentleness." And it's really encompassing what you were saying, really. Do you know what I mean? So it's just to kind of support what you just said, you know, like doing the right thing as well, you know, pursuing righteousness as you know, as a man of God is such an important thing. And what you said as well about, you know, this transition in your life in terms of, you know, getting the job and stuff like that, and what you said as well, I think it is speaking to someone. I've been through it as well, but I definitely feel like it is speaking to someone, because someone may think that because I'm in this position right now, I'm not a man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That really, like, for me anyway, like, I went through it where I took a risk to, you know, try change careers. And even like leading up to the whole wedding and stuff like that, I was grinding. Do you know what I mean? I was doing what I can to just. But the thing is, there is a seed that can be planted, or something that can creep in. You know, the enemy can allow something to creep in where you feel like, right, I'm not. Do you know, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But that has got nothing to do with what a man is. As long as you're doing what the Bible is saying in terms of what being a man is, having love, pursuing righteousness, the steps that you said as well, amongst everything else that we've spoken about, that is what should be most important, I think, anyway. And seeking God, do you know what I mean? Seeking God's kingdom, everything else will follow through, but having that vision and having that focus on the right things, not on the wrong things, I feel will really shape you as a man. So I really liked what you said, and that you touched upon it, and I do definitely feel like someone you know that's watching is going to definitely be encouraged by that.
You
know.
No, that's great. I mean, and you know, if you have been encouraged by what you've heard today, then do drop us a message. You can contact us through Facebook. You can leave messages in the comments. You know, when this video goes out, you know, we'll be around in the comment sections and things. So if tonight has spoken to you, then do let us know, because we like to hear from our viewers and for the people that tune in every week. You know, we love to hear how God's been speaking to you, how He's been encouraging you through, you know, what we share here. It's you know, sometimes we're sat here, you know, we're in an empty room and we're talking to a camera and talking to each other, and you know, it's nice to like really kind of get to interact with you guys who are watching on the other side. So do drop us a line. Like I said at the start, you can find us on our social media channels, on Instagram, Facebook. So send us a message through there if tonight's spoken to you, and we'd love to hear from you. And we do try and reply to as many messages that we can as we get through. So we'd love to hear from you. But we are gonna end it there. We have run over. Wow.
What a session!
Whoa, nearly an hour and a half. But tonight has been it's been fantastic to talk with these guys. So thank you, Joel. Thank you, Isaiah, for coming in.
Thank you as well.
It's been absolutely brilliant. I've loved it this evening. So so you will see Unsubscribe in probably 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks' time, new schedule. So we
made a bold statement. Hopefully, we're correct. Yeah.
So it should be 2 weeks from whenever you are watching this. Will be the next episode of Unsubscribe. We're now just putting out 2 episodes a month. So tune in for that. But again, it's been fantastic to have you with us tonight, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
See ya.